Hey, we're going to talk about cognitive load theory. As Dr. Holder mentioned in his presentation, cognitive load theory is essentially when you're taking the working memory and seeing how it processes teaching and instruction and how that also formulates into your long term memory. So, thinking back, I do not have any experience teaching in education, but I've been a student for a while. So, I definitely remember, especially when I first started my undergrad, it was a new type of learning from the K through 12 education. And I remember sitting there, especially when professors would have slides or PowerPoints that were very overwhelming, very wordy, and kind of feeling that overload, cognitive overload, and being like, what part am I going to remember? So I definitely remember that, especially all of the other loads, the intrinsic, um, extra, what is it? Extraneous. Sorry, I couldn't read my own note. But all of that, I definitely saw. I remember, little distractions and things like that impacting my education essentially. So it's cool to see this side of things, especially reading. I know when during our reading um, for Spector, Merrill, Ellen, and Bishop, one of their findings when they were doing study for the cognitive load and things like that, they were seeing after doing one of the electroencephalography tests when students were participating in science problems, they were trying to see, if as the problems got more difficult, if there was increased workload or increased brain activity or whatever they were looking for. But and that was correct. Their theories were correct on that. But what they didn't realize was that, they were still while they were doing the problems, you'd assume the easier it got for you, the more you kind of got the skill and the concept, the less brain activity it would be. But it wasn't, which I think is pretty interesting because it's showing that even though over time problems or situations are, they get easier to you, you're actually still doing the same amount of brain work, which is pretty cool. So, definitely.